Hi, and welcome to my sewing room. My name's Leah, and I'm on week 17 of my UFO challenge, where I challenged myself to sew at least 15 minutes a day on my UFOs. After my long vacation, I'm back in the swing of things, and I got some progress done on my Pastel Dresden Quilt UFO. I spent most of the week working on the sashing for this project, but I did get a few Dresden blocks sewn down as well. So let me show you some of that progress. On Wednesday, I enjoyed playing with my new pastel purple fabrics, and I cut a 2-inch strip from each, and I subcut those into 2.5-inch squares and laid them all out. That took me about 15 minutes. The next couple of days, I pulled out all the other colors and put them in piles so I could start organizing my rows for my sashing. I wanted to make sure there were a variety of prints and not the same print in each row. To do that, I grabbed 6 prints. Since I only have 5 colors, I laid out one of each color and then randomly picked a second color for that row, but I used a different print of the color. When I had 6 together that I liked, I moved those 6 down and pulled another 6. Each time I moved a row down, I stacked it on top of the previous row, making sure to keep them all in the same order. All 1s went on top of 1s, all number 2s went on top of number 2s, and so on. Every now and then I would double check the layers to make sure I was using a variety of prints and colors and in different orders. Even though it is sped up here, it took me about 2 15-minute sessions to get 20 sashing rows picked out. I had a good time organizing them, making sure each color and print were dispersed evenly. I took a break from sorting and decided to start sewing some of the sashing. I sewed all 20 of the sashing rows that I had already picked out. This took me a little bit longer than 15 minutes. By the time I had everything sewn and pressed, 34 minutes had gone by. But I didn't want to stop halfway through and have like an extra stack of rows just hanging off, so I went ahead and just finished them all. During my next 15-minute sewing session, I cut out another print of pink, so that put me back up at 5. And then I finished laying out the rest of my 20 sashing rows. And they are ready for sewing. Monday and Tuesday I took a break from the sashing rows and decided to sew down some of my Dresdens. I picked a different blanket stitch from my sewing machine, and this actually sped things up. I was able to get 1 block sewn in 10 minutes instead of 15 minutes. I still go slowly around the points because I want them to look somewhat good. So that does slow me down a little bit. But this new stitch goes a little bit faster, so that did speed things up a little bit. The very first block I stitched down from the sewing machine used a blanket stitch that doubled back on itself. I used that one because I thought it would show the thread off a little bit more, but the double back was actually right here by the white, so it doesn't really show off as much, and it almost looks exactly the same. I can't really tell the difference, so I decided to use the other stitch that doesn't do the double back, and it took 5 minutes off each block. So that's where I'm at now. I have half my sashing rows sewn, and I have 5 Dresden blocks sewn down. Next week should be more of the same progress. I'll finish up sewing those last sashing rows, and I'll get a couple more Dresden blocks sewn down. I might even have time to start sewing some of the rows together, and that gets me excited. Once I start sewing rows, I know I'm on the home stretch for sewing the quilt top. Be sure to come back next week and see how far I actually get, and until next time, happy sewing.